All right, let's crack the code on a question that trips up a lot of people. When a new leader takes the reins, why does the stock market sometimes shoot for the moon and other times just crater? Is it all just random chaos, or is there a predictable signal in all that noise?
You've seen it happen, right? A new prime minister or president is announced, and suddenly the market charts look like a roller coaster. But what if I told you it's not just random panic or excitement? What if there's a hidden pattern, a code that if we look closely enough, we can actually understand? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do.
So, a new leader is officially in charge. Now what? To get to the bottom of this whole market mystery, we're going to dig into some really cool research that pulls back the curtain on how all of this actually works.
Now, our evidence for this investigation comes from a super deep dive into the Thai Stock Exchange. Researchers looked at count them five, different prime minister appointments over a 14-year span. This gives us this perfect real-world laboratory to see exactly how markets tick during these big political shakeups.
And you know what? Almost right away, they found the first big clue. It turns out the market's reaction isn't chaotic at all. Nope. In fact, it follows this surprisingly predictable pattern.
Okay, to really get this, we need to know one key term: abnormal returns. I want you to think of a stock's normal, everyday performance like a steady heartbeat on a monitor, just kind of beeping along. Well, an abnormal return is a sudden spike or a big dip on that monitor. It's a blip that tells you, whoa, something major just happened and the market is reacting to it big time.
And what the researchers found is that this reaction almost always follows a consistent two-step rhythm. First, in the days before the official announcement, you can just feel the anticipation building. Investors are placing their bets on who they think will win, and because of that, the market tends to rise. We call these anticipation gains. Then comes step two, announcement day. This is the reality check. The market kind of takes a breath, digests the news, and we often see a small dip or a correction. It's a classic buy the rumor, sell the news situation playing out.
But here's where the story gets really juicy. Because this big, broad pattern, it doesn't hit every company or every industry the same way. Not at all. It turns out there are very clear winners and losers.
In fact, the research showed that over 1/3 of all the companies on the exchange show a statistically significant reaction to a change in leadership. Let that sink in. That's a huge slice of the entire market that is measurably, directly affected by politics. So who wins and who gets nervous? Well, the data draws a pretty clear line in the sand. Sectors like finance, tech, so ICT, consumer goods, and transportation, they tend to do pretty well. They often see those positive abnormal returns we talked about. But on the other side of the coin, you have industries like tourism, electronics, and professional services. They're way more vulnerable, and they often see a dip or, at the very least, a pause.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. During these political transitions, the market consistently bets on consumer-focused and technology-driven industries. They're seen as being more resilient, more adaptable. Meanwhile, those more traditional sectors, the ones that really depend on everything staying predictable and stable, they tend to feel the most pressure from the uncertainty.
Okay, so the theory sounds solid, but how does this pattern actually look when the rubber hits the road? Let's take a look at a few of those real-world appointments and see what verdict the market delivered.
This table is like a report card from the market itself, and it's fascinating. Check it out. In 2019, you had what looked like continuity after a coup, but it actually eroded confidence and led to lasting negative returns. Fast forward to 2023, a new prime minister comes from the property industry, and boom, optimism surges specifically in property companies. Then in 2024, a leadership change within the same party was seen as a loss of credibility, and it triggered some sharp, short-term losses. But by 2025, a promised transition, even with its uncertainty, was absorbed pretty well by the market. It just goes to show you that context is absolutely everything.
Okay, let's bring all these clues together. The case is solved. The market isn't just throwing a tantrum or having a party, it's sending really clear signals based on anticipation, the specific political context, and which sectors feel safe. And understanding this pattern, it has some huge implications for all of us.
So, if you're an investor, what does this all mean for you? Well, it's pretty much a playbook. The data suggests you should be looking for those anticipation gains in resilient sectors before an announcement even happens. It also serves as a big warning sign to be cautious with more vulnerable industries during these times. But honestly, the biggest takeaway of all is this. The real action, the big moves, they often happen before the news is official. The market has already placed its bets.
And listen, it's not just investors who should be paying attention here. For policymakers, the message is crystal clear. Market stability is not an accident. It absolutely depends on clear, transparent communication that cuts down on uncertainty. The longer things are ambiguous, the more volatile the market's going to get. That relatively smooth transition in 2025, that's a perfect benchmark for how to manage these changes well.
So we end on this final thought. The stock market is so much more than just a bunch of numbers flashing on a screen. It's a massive, real-time poll of public sentiment. And if it can read the political tea leaves and react to change with this much clarity, the real question we should be asking ourselves is, what other future events is it trying to warn us about or get us excited for right now?